Happy Saturday, legends. Welcome to Aussie OCR, episode 119. Joined today by a local ultra runner by the name of Blaine Bourke. And Blaine's been around for a little while. You might have seen him on a couple of OCR courses. He's done things like, I think he got in about 2020. He's done things like he was third place in the True Grit 24-hour Enduro. He ran 10th in APAC in Thailand last year. 2023 took out a couple of ultra events, including setting a national age category record for the 337 kilometre in an event, first in the Glasshouse 100 kilometre, and recently he was first at the Cut, which is a local event where I think I might have met him the first time last year, and that's sort of like every lap the last person gets cut and you just keep going until you're left with absolute fucking savages, and he was the one at the end. So keen to talk to Blaine today and see what he's all about, what type of training he does, and what possesses somebody to run 337 fucking kilometres. So we'll see what he has to say. Blaine, how are you, mate?
I'm great. What a great intro. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Mate, yeah, good to chat. Thanks for taking some time out of your Saturday. You said you had a pretty good morning.
I had a pretty good morning. I had my son's dance recital. He's 2 years old. There wasn't a whole lot of dancing going on. It was chaos. But yeah, I was super anxious and nervous watching him. I just thought, I've got an entire lifetime of that, you know, and that must be like, even my dad watching me race now at 32 years old, he must still feel like that. So I've got that feeling to look forward to.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's all part of it. I can only imagine the moments I've given my parents. I didn't. I never told my parents I was getting a motorbike or even a motorbike license. I just rode in on a motorbike one day, and they were like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" And there's been plenty of moments like that.
That's such a fear of mine. Like if he's into motorbikes or he's into any extreme sports, my folks at the moment crew me for all of my events, and I'm sure it's hard for my old man to watch me jumping off all those things at 3 a.m. in the morning. So
yeah. So they've crewed you for like your ultras and your Aussie, like your True Grit Enduros and stuff like that.
Yep. No, every event we've got it down pat now. Yeah.
That's mad.
it's like a finely tuned art.
That's cool. Yeah. It's man, I reckon that's the secret to like a bit of happiness is you got to have that shit that you both, or like you got to have that common ground, that thing that you do together is.
Oh, you know. Totally, and they love it. They just love being involved, and they're perfect for it as well. It's a real.
How so?
Ultras are a real team effort. You know, it takes
100%.
You'd know that with the like the 24-hour obstacle course races. It takes an entire crew to get through. But yeah, no, it's fantastic.
Yeah. 100%. We so much to the point that when we so I think when I did my first 24-hour enduro, I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. I turned up with like 10 gels and like nothing, no changes of clothes, no shoes, just fucking one of everything. And I'm like, I turned up and they're like, the people that they said, oh, you can just come into our tent. And they said, where's all the rest of your stuff? And I'm like, no, I don't have anything, I'm fine. And they're like, what do you mean? And I think I ran like 14 hours on 10 gels and got like, I don't know, 80 Ks and just
fucking that's pretty impressive, right?
Like blew up. Like catastrophically. Yeah. I think I got back, like called it, was absolutely full body cramps, fucked. And ended up getting in the car and driving to Macca's, which is about an hour away. Got 24 nuggets. I might have even got 2 24 packs and sat in the drive-thru at Macca's. This is a weird story. So I went through the drive-thru at Macca's at like, I don't know, 3:34 in the morning.
Yeah.
Back when they were starting at midday. Go through the drive-thru, then I get into the car park. And I've still got my compressions on, because I have like 2 times U compressions. So I thought, I'll try and get these fucking things off. So I'm in the car and I'm like eating McDonald's, and like you're like drunk, like as you know, at the end of these events, you're shattered. So I'm trying to pull these compressions off, and I must have got them to like my shins, and then just passed out. And so I'm in the car's running, the heater's on, and this chick came out from Macca's and woke me up, banging on the window at like, it must have been like 6:30 in the morning. And she's banging on the window. I'm like in there with nuggets on me. My pants are down around my ankles. She must have just thought, what fucking drugs is this dude on? But yeah, just run an Enduro.
They might have a lot of that. You never know.
I imagine so. But yeah, so after doing that first one, I was like, oh, well, there's a little bit more to this preparation and pitting. Like there's a fair bit to it. And then after doing, years and years and coming back, eventually we ended up offering like a pitting service for people who didn't have it. So like we would crew for you, and we prep people in the lead up. This is what you need. This is what you need in your gearbox. This is what you should bring. This is what we recommend. And then at the start of the event, we're teaching everyone what to do and how to do and how to prep us for what they need. And then we'd keep like their scores on a whiteboard. It was really cool, man. Because it's
such a good idea.
Team sport.
You've found a gap there, haven't you? And found the
Yeah.
solution for it. So,
Yeah, and it was
well done.
it was like, it wasn't even like, oh, I think we can make some money here. It was like, I think we can help a group of people who otherwise might not be able to facilitate this, like really have an amazing event. And that was what ended up happening. So, but yeah, it's definitely, it takes a village, dude.
Oh, totally. And you have to learn over time, right? I think everyone's got similar stories of showing up to an ultra underprepared.
Grossly underprepared.
It's a good service you're offering.
Yeah. So, Dom's here live. Guys, if you are watching, there's a couple of people jumping on. I like this 3 p.m. on a Saturday time slot because we've got some nice natural lighting. I'm awake, which is nice. Better than doing them at night. But I don't know how we'll go for numbers today. I did just chuck some stories up. But guys, if you are watching, give us a hashtag live. If you're catching a replay later, give us a hashtag replay. And yeah, this is real. This is happening in real time. So if you've got any questions for us, ask. Otherwise, we will just, saunter through our conversation. And I've got a screen on my left that's got all the analytics of everything that's happening and all these questions that are coming in. So if you've asked a question, I haven't gotten to it, chances are pretty good I will get to it. I just am trying to find the right moment. So yeah, but let us know your thoughts. How did all this start, Blaine? Have you always been into fitness?
No, not really. I've always been active and kind of outdoorsy and sporty, but I was never a runner. I've only kind of really taken up running seriously in the last 2 or 3 years. At school, I was just a bit of an all-rounder. But I think that's why I kind of took to OCR, because it's a bit of an all-rounders sport, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you need the running, but then you need a bit of strength, a bit of grip strength as well. I remember my old man used to have a saying for me. He says, go, Blaine, he's good at everything, great at nothing, because I never quite excelled in any
Jack of all
particular
trades.
sport. But yeah, it was absolutely, perfect for OCR in a way. I found out about it because once I went traveling for a year. I got back traveling and I decided I was going to basically pick where I'm going to live based off a gym, like a close gym, because I want to start prioritizing my health and fitness. I hadn't done that for my entire life, and so I thought, my wife and I decided, let's build our life around trying to be healthier.
Cool.
And so we decided we'll live across the road from a fit stop, 1 hour West
cool.
End. And that's actually where I met your good mate, Coach Mick.
Oh yeah.
So
Mick Stewart?
And Mick Stewart. And so
He's a good dude.
Mick, he loves a burpee, he loves Spartan.
I do.
I think he's in Fiji at the moment working the hurricane heat.
I just shared a story actually. He's got them to do 100 burpees with planks of wood that they were picking up above their head. And he said, does this count as a search for hurt quality? Like, you're a bad man, Michael.
I mean, I'm glad I'm not there, right? But yeah, he was the guy that introduced me to this whole world. So I'm very grateful for that.
Cool. So when was that you said you wanted to sort of make this change and get into, prioritizing a healthy lifestyle?
Yeah, like 2019. We got back from traveling, and then I think I ran my first Spartan at the end of 2019, just an open wave. Cool. And 2020, I ran my first competitive wave.
Awesome. And then everything went sideways for a little while.
Yeah, that's right. And then COVID happened, so everything was out the window.
Pause for a while. Um, was that like, what's the progression been like? Because I've spoken to a lot of Spartans, interviewed a lot of athletes on here, and a lot of them go, oh, I've run a 21 and that was great, or I ran a 50 and that's enough for me. It's not everyone that gets bitten by the super long bug. How's that sort of come about? How's that progression happened with the longer and longer distances?
Yeah, I think it's probably just a part of my personality, I'd say. Like when I first found out about Spartan, I knew they had like world championships and the APAC, and so I thought, oh, that's really cool to get involved in that. Like I'd really like to qualify and race one of them sometime. Um, but then you just keep going deeper and deeper down the rabbit hole, right? And I came across, I think it was on your show, I came across Jamie Hunter, and he'd just won the 24-hour True Grit. I thought, oh, 24 hours of this stuff, how great! And so straight away I was set on doing that. But then I also saw he was signed up for a backyard ultra, and I had to wait the following year to get back onto True Grit. And so I was like, oh, I'll just try to find one of these backyard ultras and give them a go, right? Yeah. And at this point, I'd only ran a half marathon, and I think I was injured when I signed up, and I had 5 weeks where I started running again before this backyard ultra. And so, we loaded up. I was working with a performance coach at the time, or a physio, and I don't know if this is the right methodology now that I've had a bit more experience, but we basically loaded up those 5 weeks. So we went 20, 40k, 60, 80, 100. Then we had about a 5-day deload and hit this backyard ultra. And I ended up running for 22 hours and 147k. And
wow.
Ryan Crawford was the guy that took out the event. And I ran
the White Canyon.
The White Canyon, that's right. And that's where I really, I didn't have a lot of miles in the legs before that, so I knew, I've got a bit of a knack in this ultra space.
Yeah, I would say there's a bit of natural aptitude there.
Yeah, that's right. And after this event, Ryan Crawford, I remember reading his post, and he was like, I wish I went a lot further in this event, but Blaine did his best on the day. It takes time to build that mental and physical resilience. I remember showing my wife at the time. I was like, oh, look, and she's like, oh, that's really nice what he said. I was like, no, he doesn't know. I can be way more mentally resilient. but it's because I misconstrued what he was saying, and it does take time to build this stuff up. And I read a couple of articles on this guy, and he goes off on marathons at 2 a.m. in the morning, I'm thinking, this guy is out of his mind crazy. But then, 2 months later from this event, I got up at 2 a.m. in the morning, I went on a marathon. So, after spending 22 hours with him, he inspired me to kind of start pushing myself a lot harder. So I'm
fucking A. It's it's something I learned when I was getting into the sport. That every time you go and do something crazy and you're like, oh, look how fucking crazy we've gotten, you look further out on the ledge, and there's always people further out on the ledge just doing more and more insane shit. Totally. And then you get to them and then you're like, oh, there's fucking people doing even more insane shit. And it just never ends. Never ends.
Totally.
Search for Hurt has been interesting because I've been reaching out to a heap of people and saying, oh, I know you're a savage. Do you want to see if you can qualify? And they're like, oh, yeah, I would, but I'm just training to do the 24-hour air bike, assault bike world record, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing as many fucking pull-ups in 48 hours as I can, and that's my focus. Yeah. It's like all these people just doing insane shit. There's always insanity. But Ryan Crawford does some crazy shit. I've been following him for a while. I don't know how he hasn't been cancelled yet with the name The White Canyon. I feel like that's going to upset some lefty somewhere.
It's a little bit controversial, isn't it?
It's working for him. There's a quote that I said. I spoke to Scotty a couple of nights ago. Scotty from the photographer from Scott Shepherd. The photographer from Spartan. There we go. That's a complete sentence. So I spoke to Scotty, and there was a quote that he said. He was just talking about the idea of Spartan, and regular people see us doing it, and they're like, "Why the fuck are you lunatics out there running in the dirt and doing this shit. And I'm going to say it again because it's one of my favourite quotes. But it's gone. Oh, there we go. So it's a Friedrich Nietzsche quote. And those to be seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who could not hear the music. And it's just...
It's a good quote, isn't it? It sums it up.
Yeah, and it's exactly that, man. Like, you see people doing stuff and you're like, none of that sounds appealing to me. And then you do it and you're like, well, I actually quite enjoyed that. It's... yeah.
It's funny, my sister, she's actually a Australian freediver. She's an Australian record holder. And
yeah, wow.
I could personally never do freediving. I look at her and I think, you're crazy, man. But then she turns around and looks at this running stuff and goes, no, you're crazy, man. And like it really does sum it up, like you dance to your own tune, right?
You do, man. You do. There's I was reading a book on addictions and sort of the way our brains work and why they work the way they work. It's called Scarcity Brains. It came out a little while ago by a guy called Michael Easter. It was a really good book. But he just talks about this idea of, like, we all get addicted to something. Like, whatever your poison is, that's your poison. Like, whether you're addicted to fitness or you're addicted to fucking work or you're addicted to whatever the fuck it is, sugar or salt or... but there's evolutionary reason for that, because if everyone's addicted to the same shit, you're all just going to be dedicated to getting the same resource. Whereas if there's variability, if one person's addicted to sugar and one person's addicted to salt, like you end up with variation of resources. The labour's spread out better. It was just an interesting sort of idea. I've got a client who says something. She says this quote: "Don't yuck somebody's yum." So like, if you see somebody doing something, if you see somebody doing something and you're like, why the fuck are they doing that? There's probably a reason. Like, they're probably not fucking insane. There's something they're getting out of it. There's also a lot of insane people, especially running ultras.
That too, yeah, absolutely. No, it's the beauty of life, right? That we've all got different personalities. We're all going after different things. But I
cool.
do. I love that saying.
It's cool. What's been your favourite event so far?
That's a good question. Jeez, I really loved the 24-hour obstacle course race. I was disappointed when they decided to put it on pause. And I like the cut. I see it as like a backyard ultra that's fast, and so it's very exciting. It's a good kind of spectator race. Yeah, it'd have to be one of those two, I'd say. Or one that doesn't exist yet.
I like that both of those events are a lap style event, because that's probably my favourite type of like format as well. Where you're sort of going to go out, do a bit of effort, come back into the pit, refuel, whatever it is, and then go back out. There's a lot of similarities format-wise to the cut and enduro. So for anyone who doesn't know, so the 24-hour enduro, the True Grit 24-hour enduro, ran out of Dargle Farm. It was a 10k course, 11k course. About 30 obstacles, military-inspired obstacles, and it'd start at like midday and run to midday the next day. So you'd go out, you'd run your first lap, and then you come into like the pit area. And in the pit area, you can stop for as long as you want. You can decide that you've done one lap and that's your event done and go home, or you can have a nap, or you can not even stop in the pit and just keep running. I usually run 2 hot laps for my first. Or you can run 2 laps, have a break, 2 laps, have a break, 2 laps, have a break. You can run as many laps as you can and then stop. You can run until the sun goes down, have a sleep. When the sun comes back up, run again. Basically, it's just run as many laps as you can. And I like it from if a client comes to me and says, I want to see what I'm capable of, should I do an ultra, like a Spartan ultra? I'd say, look, if you're really confident, like if you're confident that you can do the distance, a Spartan Ultra is a great way to test yourself. But if you're not sure how much distance you can do, you're better off with something like an Enduro, because it's really just to choose your own adventure, like how far you're going to go.
Yeah.
Now, the main difference between that and say the Cut, which is an event that it's a local event. It's run out of Trail Trips and Events. A guy called Steve Jackson, who's a great operator on the Gold Coast. He also runs the SEQ trail events. So he puts together this race called the Cut, and I might need you to help me with the details, Blaine. But basically, it's you start off with a big field. They run. How long's the loops?
1.5k.
That's only 1.5. I thought it was longer.
1.5. Yeah.
So it's a 1.5k loop, and then the people at the back, whoever comes over the line last, get cut. And I think depending on the size of the field, like more people might get cut at the start, but down towards the end, maybe it's only a single person getting cut each lap. So what's the timing? Do they run that 1.5k every 10 minutes or something?
No, so it's 20 seconds after the last person finishes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. So it's basically a survival style race where if you come over the line last, you're out. Faster you come over the line, the more rest you have. But if you go too fast, you cook yourself. So there's a bit of strategy involved in this. It's a pretty cool setup. But I would say like there's definitely similarities between that and a true grid enduro.
Oh, totally. You're not wrong.
Do you think that factors into why that's your favourite event?
I think so. I think definitely the strategy side that you touched on. You can take different strategies into these events. I also liked what you said, what you do with your clients, because I know backyard ultras are pretty popular for that reason too. You're doing 6.7k on the hour every hour. So a lot of people, like runners that go to that event, will run further than they've ever ran in their lives because most people can make that time. And so they end up throwing down some big numbers.
Yeah, I think we did it through COVID. We did things like 24-hour ultra virus races where it was just many 5k loops as you can run, and like world's toughest mudder type fucking deals. Yeah, where we'd run like 100. I think we did 120 k's or something one night. But it's a cool idea. It's a cool way to test your limits. I would say the only negatives that come with it is I've seen people go into those things and come out injured, come out limping and come out fucked. Like, I think you need a level of awareness of your body and what you're feeling. And
yeah, absolutely. There's definitely risk involved there.
Yeah, there's this fucking line that you dance, like when you get into ultra extreme endurance sports, right? Because it's fucking mostly mental. Like, I'd say everyone out there is pretty fit. The guys who are winning are the guys who can just play the best mental battle in their head. So, and then you've got, your Goggins saying, when you're fucking done, you're only 40% done. Like, that's good. And he's right to a point. Like, most people quit before they're ready to quit. But on the other hand, you have to go, if you're going to run an ultra, especially at any sort of pace, you're going to fucking hurt. But you also have to be able to pass out the hurt that is just natural because you're running an ultra, or the hurt because you're about to crack your fucking shin splints. Like, you got to be out there. There's got to be a mix of how hard do I push while maintaining self-preservation, and it's like this knife edge that you're on.
Oh, totally. I mean, that's just the risk you take, and it comes down to how much you want to push yourself, right? And I know I don't have a whole lot of self-preservation when it comes to these things, and
just go hard.
I often tell runners, do as I say, not as I do.
That's what I tell my clients. Adrian Mannix, sounds awesome. Adrian did the Hurt 100 in Hawaii. Adrian, have we had a podcast? I think we have. I think we did years ago. If we haven't, we should. So he knows how to hurt. I mean, one of the Enduros, I think it was 2019, I jumped off a wall at like, I don't know, fucking 5 a.m. and landed and just went, oh, that wasn't right. And sort of limped, got into the pits, and I'm like, I think I've cracked my shin. And my partner, Dom, bless her, she's like, no, you'll be fine. Just fucking go. And I'm like, can you just feel it? She's like, does it hurt there? I'm like, yeah, I think it's fucked. She's like, you'll be fine. And she just taped it up and like kicked me in the ass. She's like, go, you've still got like, you've still got 5 hours. So I'm like limp running, got like another 20 Ks. And then I was in a moon boot for fucking months because I had cracked my tibia and ran another 20 Ks. But it's like, when I talk to like elite guys in this space, an injury is inevitable. Like eventually you're just gonna push too hard.
That's right. And I mean, like you're saying about Dom, I tell my crew, just don't let me give up. Just keep pushing me out. Keep pushing me out. I don't care what I tell you. I don't care what I'm sounding like. Just keep pushing me out.
Yeah. Yeah, if I'm dead, just fucking roll me.
That's exactly right.
It's fine. Matty Day, live from Sezme in Turkey.
In Turkey.
Do you read Turkish, Blaine? Does that say Sezme?
I do not read Turkish, but
I thought that was a random dart to throw, but I've not been there. I would love to go to Istanbul, Constantinople. I think it's the only country on 2 continents. The only city on 2 continents.
Asia and Europe? Asia and... Is that right?
I'm going to say Africa and Europe. No, it might be the only one on 3 continents then.
Okay,
I feel like I need to Google this.
Geography isn't the best subject, but I know they have good food there at a good price, so enjoy Matty Day.
No, it's 2. It's the unique city that straddles 2 continents, Asia and Europe.
There you go.
But it's getting down that way. It's getting down to Africa. It's close.
Yeah, well, I think I went from Morocco to Turkey, so yeah.
Nice.
It would be close.
I'd love to go to that part of the world. Chesme. Am I getting that right, or have I bastardised that with my strong Australian accent? Chesme.
I guess.
Yeah, Europe, Asia. Thank you, Matty. Matt, you can Google everything. You can fact check us from now on.
That's right.
How's your trip, buddy? Yeah, so the cut. So you took it out again. The second year.
Took it out again. Yeah.
Second year running. Was that last weekend?
2 weekends ago.
Where was I? Maybe I was in Sydney. Nice. Did you do you know how many laps you did?
I think
comparatively?
34. I think because the last one finishes on 500 meters, so it would have been about 34 laps.
That last sprint around the velodrome.
Yeah, that's right. And it was pretty sharp. I think I ran it 4 seconds quicker this year, so it's pretty sharp, that 500 meters. I'm not sure about the rest of the 50. I think maybe the rest of the 50k was a bit quicker the year before. But yeah, this year's 500 was quick.
Yeah. Who was down to the end with you? Was Adzi there again?
Adzi wasn't there. A guy called Matty Cooper that trains up here with Bert, and Declan King Smith, who ran in second, but he's a runner on the Gold Coast, and apparently he's pretty sharp as well. And then 2 other guys. I was unfamiliar with the 2 other guys. Yeah.
Okay, I should be able to bring that photo up actually. Perhaps. What do I do with that photo? Because was that the start line photo you sent me to use as the promo?
Yeah, start of 500. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was a sick photo.
Yeah, it came down to 5 guys. I don't think you could see the other 2 guys in the photo.
Oh yeah, here we go. I can drop this in. Yeah.
Yeah, so
that's that final sprint.
Matt Cooper in the red cap there, and Declan in the sunnies.
Mm. So that finishes up just before the Halloween hustle.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good day he runs down there. Actually, it's like I said, it's a great spectator event, and it just feels like a bit of a party the whole day. They've got the bar there.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's good. Like I brought a crew down of about 7 or so runners. It was just good to spend the day with those guys.
It is it's a good event. They do a couple of good events. The Steve Jackson, They did a little duathlon down around here, like a little trail run. I think it's a run bike run, and I think the bigger one is like a 4K run, 22K trail bike, and then like a 4K run or something like that. And it's quite a nice little event, but it's just always really cool vibes. They're nice guys. I was spewing. I think we were down in Sydney for Tough Mudder. We were either in Sydney for Tough Mudder or we were at Raw Challenge. I think it was Tough Mudder. But yeah, I was spewing. I missed it. Yeah, Dom just saying it's on before the Halloween hustle. So it's a cool event. So Adrian's saying, I think we did some informal chat during COVID lockdowns. Happy to discuss if it adds value. I'll send you a message, mate. We'll jump on a potty. So you get into when was your first Enduro 24-hour?
Yeah, first Enduro. That was only last year, right?
2022. So that was your first one.
Yeah.
So your first one, you podiumed.
Yeah.
Like elite podium. That's pretty solid.
Yeah, no. It was my A race for the year. I was all in on that race.
Cool.
I was doing laps around Mount Cootha carrying 2 water tanks because I think I heard a podcast with Lachlan Dancy, who's like the champion of that event, right?
Yeah, king of the mountain.
And he was saying, just go for runs with kettlebells. And so I got 2 water tanks and I just ran up and down Mount Cootha like all day.
Worked.
It prepared me nicely. Yeah, there's things I got wrong in that event though. I thought there'd be a coffee tent. I completely forgot caffeine, and so at one point I fell asleep for an hour, and then I was trying to make up time after that. But if I had another crack at it, I definitely managed to learn more.
If we're at the event, we always have coffee. There's more chance that I don't have shoes or food. Coffee I'll have for sure.
So important.
Yeah, I try to detox the caffeine like the week of the event.
Yeah, okay.
Just to sort of let your receptors reset, and then when you have it, it's like, it's
I
fucking
do
supercharged.
Pretty good strategy for a lot of ultra runs as well in the backyard scene. But I think I did I think I did a similar thing, but then I forgot the coffee part for the event. So I was like, you kidding me? I've gone 2 weeks without coffee, and here I am.
And then forgot it anyway.
Coffee for a 24-hour race.
Yeah, that's rough. Was that your biggest... How many Ks did you do at that event?
I think it was 120, 11 laps. Tough course.
So picked up a silver, so 75 mile. I think that's about 120.
Yeah, I guess so.
Pretty close. That's pretty fucking solid, man. It is a tough course. It's a tough course.
It was a tough course through the swamp, and I've just seen Jamie, I think he was 16th over at World's Toughest Mudder in the last week. That would be cool. Like, hopefully I can make it over the States one year to be able to do that. That was an amazing event.
I had it on my bucket list this year to get over, and the stars just didn't align. I sort of had a little bit of other stuff going on, and it's an expensive one to get to over there. But we might have a look at 2024. See if we can do 2024. Matty Day. Seen Blaine a couple of times out during what he calls casual training weekend, where everyone else calls in their A race for the year. I think you're on a 70k training run, and the one other time doing like a 20k warm-up run before joining a tough hill session at RVP Run Club before the 20k cool-down run home. My kind of lunatic. Yeah. Anyone who does a 20k fucking warm-up run, that's up there.
Always good to see Matty Day out at Cootha.
Yeah. He's a fun lunatic. He's good, a good one in the tribe. What's been your longest one? Was it that 337?
Yeah, that 48-hour track race by AAA Racing. That's as far as I've gotten to date, but hopefully we can push that a little bit further next year.
Whereabouts is that?
They hold it at the track at Southport there, Griffith University.
Oh yeah.
So it's on a running.
So it's right. So 400 meter loops.
400 meter loops. Yeah.
I know I said don't yuck somebody's yum before, but I like.
You know, you don't get bored. It's crazy to think, but running round and round in circles for
Do you get
whatever
dizzy?
reason, you don't get bored.
How many fucking laps is that? 337. So that was 48 hours. How much of that did you do non-stop?
800 and something, is it? It's not quite
Jesus.
1,000, not that much.
Jesus. Yeah, 800 for 330. That sounds about right. Sounds about right. So run me through like a strategy, if there is one, and is that like a pit style event, like you can come off course anytime you want?
You've got a crew on the side.
Okay.
So the strategy I took into the event that actually worked really well was 50 minutes on while I was running, and then walking for 10 minutes, and that 10 minutes
Okay.
I'd like eat and drink, and then
Okay.
just hand it back to my crew, go out again for 50 minutes. That lasted about the first 100k pretty well, and then after that I was kind of sitting down for 5 minutes and then 10 minutes every hour kind of thing.
Yeah.
I sort of reverted back to like a bit of a backyard strategy for that second 24. It was kind of like run almost 7k every hour, then sit down and start again at the top of the hour.
So you're almost running like an hour EMOM type.
Yeah.
Every hour on the hour. Yeah.
Right.
It's a nice way. That type of shit fascinates me. As somebody who's done a bit of crazy shit and has been a PT for a long time, and I put people through crazy sessions, the idea that I can create, say, a session that's like, I don't know, 50 squats, 50 push-ups, 50 pull-ups, but then I can create a workout that's like 10 of everything, 20 of everything, 30 of everything, and this like different formats of the same. So you're doing the same amount of work overall, but you can format it different and have a different impact on yourself mentally. I don't know if I've explained that very well, but like occasionally there'll be the way a workout is written. I'll have a client, they're like, that was fucked. Like, never give that to me again. And then the next week we can do the same exercises, the same amount of work, like reps overall, but you just break it up different, like 40 seconds on, 20 off, and they don't notice that they're doing the same shit. Like, it's just that. Sorry.
Tell me, is the least favorite MRAPs, would you say?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I will say that it changes. So it changes depending on the client. I quite like AMRAPs myself, because I just like the idea of like put a 40-minute timer on and just fucking hammer for a while. And for me, that sort of works pretty well with mentally how I do things. And I think that just comes from being an obstacle racer. Like, it's not like there's set rest in. It's just, you just go as hard as you can until you need to stop, and then you fucking stop. Yeah. Like, so for me, that makes sense for me to train in that way. But if I'm doing something like, and I'll find that like some clients drift towards the AMRAP, some are like, no, I'd rather you give me 40 seconds on, 20 off, or I'd rather do round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4 at different exercises. Like, different people will prioritize different things. But some exercises and some things that I'll do, I will work in a different way. So the 100 burpees for Search for Hurt, I was like, I'm just going to do 20 a minute.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to set a timer, and every minute I'm going to do 20. And I think the first minute I'd finish the 20 by 46 seconds or something.
Yeah.
And then I think it was going all right until about the 50th burpee and the wheels fell off. But that like seemed like an easier way to chunk it up in my mind and be able to keep myself on task. And that shit just fucking fascinates me. Like, how do you, like, what is the mental gymnastics that's going on to make you be able to get to your optimum output? And how do you hack
it's
that?
so funny because I think I'm opposite to you. I don't like AMRAPs because I feel like it's almost like pointless, because you can't just smash it out and get to the end real quick. You know, you have to go for the full 40 regardless.
Okay.
So I felt like a workout for time.
Yeah. So it depends too. Like, It depends what I'm doing. So if I'm doing, say, a workout down in the gym at 9:30 at night, and I'm like, I want to watch a movie or I want to do something, I may as well just go into the gym and do a bit of a workout. Then I might set myself an AMRAP, and it's not like a red line AMRAP, it's just getting through a chunk of work. That works really well for me. If I'm in a class, so if I'm going to the gym, or say I'm running a boot camp where I want everyone to do the boot camp as a team, an AMRAP works really well because everyone's working for the same amount of time. And the fit people will do more than the less fit people, but it's a bit more social.
Yeah.
But a lot of what I'll do for training is I'll go for a run down to the beach, or I'll ride down to the beach. I'll chain up the bike, I'll run, then I'll get to the bars at Surfers Paradise, and I'll do a calisthenics chipper where I might go, I don't know, so many lunges, so many push-ups, so many pull-ups, work through 3 rounds, and then run back to the bike and then ride home. So that's more like a chipper, where it's like a set amount of work that I'm going to get through for the amount of time. So it sort of depends. It depends what I'm doing. But it's just interesting, and it's interesting how different people just seem to, get off on different stuff, and
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
that's why I'm always interested chatting to athletes and working out what drives them. And anytime I'm chatting to anyone who's out on the ledge doing crazy shit, there's always like similarities, but it's never the same. Like there's always shit that people do different, especially like once you start talking about nutrition and training strategies.
Yeah, totally. Even I find like the self-talk, there's athletes that need to be real, like kind of not negative, like hard on themselves. Like I think Goggins is a little bit like that, you little bitch, just man up or whatever.
It's a bit of self-loathing there.
Yeah, whereas I need to be super like positive and optimistic and be like, just hang in there, you've got this. So yeah, everyone has different.
I think that's variability between people that's like set too. Like you learn that very early in as a PT. Well, maybe some PTs never learn it, but you definitely do, because you have this idea of how things should be done, but your way is not going to overlay perfectly onto somebody's life and what they're motivated by. So like I've got some clients that I can work with and I can go, look, there's still 20 seconds on the timer. I think you can get another 5. And then I've got other clients where I'm like, there's 20 seconds left, bitch. Get off the fucking floor. And so like, if you try and give some clients a cuddle, they tell you to fuck off. And if you try and tell some clients to stop being a little bitch, they cry and leave. Like yeah,
that's right.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
So you got to work out.
It's on you to be able to tell which one will work for which client, right?
Yeah, you got to read the room. You've got to be able to give people what they need and meet them at the level they're at, and learn whether carrot or stick is going to work better. Yeah, it's cool, mate. What do you? Hold on, I've got a question from Maddie. If you both want to do some real training, you're welcome to fly into Austria on the 19th for a 4-day winter snow hike, rucking a 20-kilo pack through the Alps, not in the comfort of your little gyms. I'll just check some flights to Austria, mate.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds fun.
I saw something got shared on Insta the other day, and it was like, if you're having a bad day, just remember there's a desk at the airport in Austria that people go to who thought they were flying to Australia. And they get on the wrong fucking plane and like end up in Austria.
I wonder how much that would happen.
Probably a bit. I know some people who definitely shouldn't be in charge of booking their own airline tickets. But yeah, they're a couple. They're a couple. So what do you do? Like we've spoken about it a little bit, but what do you do for training? What's your typical week look like? Is there any sort of system or structure that you follow?
Look, I'm not someone that can tick off boxes in a spreadsheet, that's for sure. So there's no real structure. I try and hit, the sessions that every runner does. Like if I can get 1 to 2 speed sessions in there, perfect. Usually that's one really, tough, hard, long slog, and then just plugging in easy stuff throughout the rest of the week just to try and build that volume in. But I probably prioritize strength and conditioning more than most. I do about 4 to 5 group training sessions per week.
Yeah, cool.
So that's pretty much training. But yeah, the biggest factors for me is like enjoyment and engagement. As long as I'm like, if I don't feel like doing something on one particular day, I'm not going to do it.
Sure.
So I just want to make sure that I'm always, as long as I'm always enjoying it, as long as I'm always engaged with training, I think, I'm going to go all right. But yeah, that's kind of the two factors that I really try to prioritize with it.
Yeah, cool. So training every day.
Yeah, generally. Yeah, I try. We live in the city, so like even to work and stuff. Like I try and run to work, then run to the gym, hit a session there. So I try and just always be on my feet rather than jump in my car or on public transport.
That's so underestimated by a lot of people. Like if I've got a client training for an ultra, they're like, "Oh, I'm working. I've got to fit this in." I'm like, "How far away from home, like to work, are you?" And they're like, "Oh, 30 k's. Buy a fucking push bike. Like, just get on Marketplace, get a $150 push bike, and just ride the fucking thing to and from work. Because just that volume on your legs, and you don't have to hammer it. You just turn the fucking legs over. Just walk.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
I don't go far out of like a couple of K radius. Like, if you live anywhere near me, you see me for probably 2 hours, 3 hours a day, either riding my bike around, my skateboard, I'm running, or I'm walking. Like, I just try and find as many opportunities to not get in the car as I can.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I'm exactly the same. Yeah.
Fucking adds up huge. Like, I can have a week or two where I'm busy and I don't get a lot of training done, but your performance doesn't really drop. Like, if you can get that incidental exercise just as part of your lifestyle, the results sort of just stay there on their own. It's pretty cool.
100%. Even like I work in an office and always try and put myself at a stand-up desk and things like that. So just so you're constantly on your feet and you're not, stationary.
Yeah, I've got a stand-up desk here as well, and it's so I was always like that. I was like, if you're an office worker, you need a stand-up desk, and now I sort of still am, but then you work with a couple of people who are in retail, and they've got problems because they stand up all day.
Yeah,
so it's like, it's like you just have to find the variation in movement, the variation in posture.
Yeah.
Like, if you're always at your desk like this, you're gonna have issues. If you're always standing, you're possibly gonna have issues. Yeah, so I say, like, if you've got a laptop and you can just change the position you're in, even if you're in an office, you take it into the break room for a bit, you work at your office for a bit, you put it on top of your filing cabinet for a bit, and you just type away. Like, if you can just find 5 or 6 different positions across a day, it's easier if you work from home, obviously. But often I'll just ride down to the cafe and work there, or I'll work in the backyard or on the balcony, or on the lounge. Like, I'll just put myself in different positions, and I find that variation helps.
No, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, exercise snacks are good too, I find. If you can just find little opportunities to do a couple of squats while the food's in the microwave at work or something like that.
Yeah, I saw one bloke on Instagram story. He waited for the elevator doors to close behind him, and then he quickly knocked out as many push-ups as possible before the elevator doors open again.
Oh yeah?
People come in, so yeah, he's finding his own way of getting a bit of exercise in.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. I used to have, where I lived in Sydney, I had an elevator, and I was just always taking selfies in the elevator, so if I was going out somewhere, I'd just take a selfie and put it on my stories. And then it just got wilder and fucking wilder and wilder in this elevator. Became a bit of a thing. I think I took the Harley in there one day and took a photo. On Valentine's Day, I took a full table in with a candle and fucking ate my dinner in there in front of the mirror. And, like, it was, it was pretty cool. I didn't exercise in there though. Dom, if you're watching, we need an elevator. When you say you go out for your disgusting long run, how long are we talking? What sort of
long.
like, is it threshold easy or?
And typically it's on a trail, but can be anywhere from about a 40k upwards to about 70. I don't often go too much longer than that unless there's unless I just feel the the need to. I wake up one day and I think, oh, I just want to keep running today.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a long one.
So you're sort of getting out for 5 hours?
Oh yeah,
6
sometimes
hours?
5 to 8 sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. How do you find the time? How do you balance it all? Ultra running's obviously a big commitment.
Yeah, totally. So I actually ended up negotiating with work a 9-day fortnight because I didn't want to sacrifice time on the weekend without the family, and so I ended up saying, well, can I get every second Friday off? And so that second Friday I kind of treat as like Blaine's Adventure Day, and I just go out and do something really, really long. Um, and then for the rest of the time, it's just about you can't find the time, you've got to make it, right? Like in the first year of Sutton's life, he's never been a sleeper as well. But like there was nights where we'd put him down at 8 o'clock, and then I'd head out for a 40k run to about 10, like 11 o'clock at night, and then head on in and try and get a few hours sleep till I get up for work the next day. So it's just about, like, you go and make sacrifices, and a lot of times in the last 2 years that's been sleep for me, which isn't ideal, but getting that extra volume in the legs was my priority.
It's a short-term strategy.
It's a short-term strategy, right?
Yeah, sacrificing the sleep in the same way that I think, like when you did that ultra prep and you just went 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 and then straight into the event, like that, I think you got away with it because you're fit and you did this jump in volume quickly. But like if you did that into every event now, you good luck. Like at some point your body's going to go, we're fucking sick of this. But there's a couple of cool quotes that I like. I don't know who says this one, but if you don't sacrifice for what you want becomes a sacrifice.
That's such a good quote. Yeah.
Yeah, the other one's a guy by the name of Jim Rohn, who was like a business coach in the 80s maybe. A really interesting speaker. He's got a really interesting way of talking. You can still find him on YouTube. Yeah, but he says if it's a priority, you'll find a way. If it isn't, you'll find an excuse. And it's that sort of idea. We're all prioritizing something.
That's if you want it enough, you'll make it happen.
Yeah, it does come, like, it's not without cost though. One of the things that I learned speaking to guys like Ironman, because just the amount of time they have to be getting on bikes and swimming, like some of them are training like 8 hours a day. Like it's fucking insane. And a lot of them I'll speak to and I'm like, oh, you did Ironman for this long, why'd you stop? And they go, it was my fucking life. Like I needed to spend some time with my family and go back to work and build the career back up. Like, it's one of those big things that becomes. So I say to people, you can only keep so many plants alive. Like you've got so much water in your watering can, you can only keep so many plants alive with it. If you try and keep too many plants, some of them will die, or potentially all of them will die. But there's some plants that are bigger than others at times, and they'll require more water. Same sort of idea, like you can only keep so many balls in the air, and occasionally something will grab your focus and you have to put all your effort in and you'll drop all these fucking balls. Like, it's...
same idea, different spin on it. Like I go like top 3 or 5 and think of the things you want to prioritize, like number 1, family, number 2, your community, number 3, your running pursuits, number 4 or even number 5, your career in there somewhere, because you don't want to lose that either. But that's all you can keep, so you will eventually drop a ball if you've got too many in the air.
I think the trick for somebody who's like maybe going, oh well, that's easy for you guys to say, you've obviously got time and you've negotiated a short work week and you've Matt, you work for yourself and you can travel around and do races. I think step 1 is you can't fucking do everything, and a lot of people I see, that's what they try to do. They try to do too many things. It's like, if you don't know exactly what you want, sit down and work out what you don't want. Go, I don't want to be fucking eating Uber Eats, or I don't want to be partying, or I don't want to be doing this and that. Like, and just go, all right, I'm just going to cut those things out, and I'm going to make a really active effort of cutting the shit that isn't serving me, or maybe isn't taking me in the direction in life that I want to go, and just see how much mental energy that frees up for the stuff that you care about or you're prioritizing. And that can be a sort of a different way
you've thrown a lot of quotes at me. I heard a great one the other day, and it was, if it's not a heck yes, it's a no.
Yeah.
So if you don't really want it, then just pass.
Yeah. Yeah. There's an idea that I was reading about the other day, which is this: if you have to think about it, it's not what you should be doing.
Yeah.
So like if you think about something and you're like, yeah, that's a great idea. But if you have to like think, is it a good idea? It's like, it's probably not. It's probably, yeah. If it doesn't instantly grab you, yeah. It's, yeah. It's a cool idea. It's not a heck yeah, it's a no. I like it. What's your next heck yeah? What's the next big thing that you're training for?
Next big event. So I've got 4 races that I really want to make next year. So the first one's Noosa 100k. I had a DNF there at the start of this year, so I want a redemption at that race. Number 2 is the Oceanic Championship for 24-hour track races. So again, that's on the 400-meter track, and it's however far you can get in 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3 is Dead Cow Gully. I don't know if you've heard much about that event, Matt, but
I've heard of Dead Cow,
it's a backyard ultra. Yeah. It's out at Nanango in Queensland, and it's on May the 4th. And so this guy, Timmy Walsh, the organizer of this race event, he said, I'm putting on this event, and I'm going to pay out $10,000 for the winner. And so that's kind of like the first time I've kind of heard of that happening in ultra running. Like, usually you're competing for, like a carved wooden horse or something like that, some sort of weird little prize. The other thing he's included in his event is drug testing, which I don't know that exists too much in ultra running, because we're not running for sheep stations, but there might be pockets of it. And so I just thought there were 2 really cool, exciting things I haven't heard of happening in ultra running. And so I was really keen to do that.
I think if you start giving away prize pots, it's a good.
Well, you've got it right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I've actually always thought about OCR when they're paying out for races. I'm surprised there isn't drug testing involved.
Yeah.
But
it's you've got to, like, I think if the money was there big enough, although I guess they're not drug testing for like World Stuff at Smudder, stuff like that. They've given away some pretty big prize pots for that.
That's a couple of grand, right? Or 5 or 10 or something like that.
I was going to say, like, before you look at drug testing, I'd just be making sure you can get enough people at fucking obstacles, making sure people are doing shit right. Like, that's probably the lower hanging fruit, right? Make sure everyone's doing their shit, doing their penalties, doing their burpees. Like, that's probably where I'd go. We want to make sure that's right, and then we can drug test them after that.
Yeah, you make a great point. About the 4th event, they do a 6-day ultra down in South Australia, October every year, and so I'm super keen to see how far I can get in 6 days. But they're the 4 big ones coming up.
Is Dead Cow the one that it was on a couple of months ago, I believe? That was where the guy broke the world record?
Yep, world record. Yep.
What was his, do you know what his name is?
Phil
It's
Gore.
escaping me. Phil Gore, that's it. I think he might be helping us out with Search for Hurt. I believe.
I saw that on Search for Hurt's wall. Hey,
I think he's helping us
that's
out.
a great athlete to have on board, right?
Yeah, I think he'll be helping us with the coaching for the Backyard Ultra that we're going to get our guys to do.
Oh, sweet. That'll be good.
Which you'll have a bit of an advantage there, big fella. You've logged some fucking good times. What'd you do your burpees in? 4 minutes 17?
4 minutes 28. I got in the end. The qualifiers, actually, they kind of play to my strengths a little bit, because the running is almost, the 5K is almost my weakest leg, I think, in this, and I would consider myself a runner, but it's all kind of body weight exercises, which I tend to be pretty handy at, because I've 70 kilo frame, so pretty easy to sort of move around.
Yeah, I was talking to one of the guys that was there today, a PT that I know who I got in to do the qualies with us. So he came to parkrun with us this morning, and he's a big fucking dude, like big CrossFit frame, 107 kilos, but like almost no body fat on him, like a fucking rig. Been in fitness his whole life and just trains 2-3 hours a day forever. So he turns up at parkrun this morning and he's like, I've never run 5k. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I've never run this far before. I'm like, all right, well, have fucking fun, sir. But just him running and then seeing him do the burpees and stuff, and you know, he didn't do his 100 burpees, but these qualifications are not to his strengths at all because he's a big guy. But when we go to Hurt Camp and when we go to the fucking powerlifting competition that we're gonna do, like,
that's right.
He'll win that right? Easily. Like he'll win some of the stuff, you know. Yeah. So it's just interesting with the qualities. I really would have liked something that was a little bit more strength heavy in there, but
I think so. I think that's what's missing. Probably if the Hyrox PFT, or if you swapped out, like put a sled in there for like lunges, or you had kettlebells for lunges or something like that, I think that would blow up people like myself a lot more.
Yeah, but then the problem is the more complexity you add in, the less people can do it, the more friction you create. That's true. So like people have already messaged me going, I don't have a rower, and I'm like, find a fucking rower. I don't know what to tell you.
You can contact gyms. Just reach out to gyms, I'd say. Like I just got a casual session at CrossFit gym because my gym didn't have a rower, so that would be my advice there.
Yeah, and I think most gyms would be happy to help as well.
Totally.
Some people just don't like it. You know, it's not for everyone to just contact a gym and go, hey man, I'm just doing this thing. I'll share some stuff on your stories. Can I come in and do this workout? A lot of, like, I take it for granted that I did like door-to-door sales when I was 17 and I can just go talk to people. Like I'm not worried to just go and talk to somebody that I don't know. But some people, that's absolute fucking hell. The amount of people that I've asked to come on the podcast, and I'm like, come on, have a chat. They're like, oh, no, I couldn't do that on camera. And I'm like, of course you could. We're talking now. You're fine. They're like, no, that's not for me. And it's you know, endlessly fascinating how different we all are.
Totally. Yeah, it's a good skill to have, those kind of sales jobs early on.
Yeah, it helps.
Definitely right. It's underrated, isn't it?
It's helped me be more annoying. Matty, he's back. Do you have any little quirks that you bring into your training others won't normally do that you feel is a differentiator? E.g., one of mine is during winter, I'll wet my hands before heading out on a run to get used to the cold. Mental prep for OCR obstacles.
That's such an interesting little training tip there.
Just makes his hands cold.
Yeah. I don't know if I do. Like I said, for true grit, sometimes I still occasionally take the water tanks out to Mount Cootha and run them up and down the hill, just because it kind of reminds me of old times now, and sometimes I don't just feel like going for a run, you know. I feel like doing a bit of strength in there as well.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if I've got anything that I do that not many other people would do.
Do you do any rucking? Do you like ever take like just a backpack with weight in it?
Like a bag or something?
Yeah, like a rucksack or something.
No, I
don't. Do any of that?
No.
I like that for like a random day. Like if I don't have anything on and Dom and I, it's like, what do you want to do? Should we go? Do you want to go for a hike? I'm like, yeah, I'll throw some weight on. Which that's not a... I know I've got a free day tomorrow, Dom. There'll be no rucking.
Yeah, I occasionally throw some like burpees in there or pull-ups if I run past a pull-up bar, and I don't have a lot of like any OCR planned on the horizon, but I still like to do that, just for a bit of extra fitness and to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, adding that extra strength stuff in is hugely beneficial, especially if it's like grip, like farmers carries. Farmers carries are fucking great. That's something that everyone should do somewhat regularly.
For sure.
just for the grip and like just making sure you hold your shoulders in a nice, good position.
Yeah, the core. Yeah, no, they're really good.
Yeah. Have you heard of a guy called Jeff Cavalier? Runs a page called Athlean X.
I don't think I have.
So massive YouTube creator, fitness influencer in the space, millions of followers, and just really, really fucking smart, like sports scientist, PhDs, all sorts of shit.
Okay.
So he's got this Cavalier 8 movements. I'm gonna try and fucking work out. But basically he's got this idea for like when he creates a session. Give me a sec because I'll see if I can bring this up. But it's this idea, and I use it a little bit just because it's handy if I'm just writing something on the board of an evening and I want to throw some random shit in. Athlean X. I know I wrote it down fucking somewhere. Might be in my book actually that's next to me. But basically it's just... Oh yeah, there we go. It is. So it's just these movement patterns, like as a little bit of a cheat sheet that you can... Say you're just putting a little bit of a workout together. And you don't necessarily have to use all of these, but you want to cover off most of these across a week, say. And they're, different coaches have different things, but they are squat, lunge, hinge, so like a deadlift, push, pull, rotate, carry, and correct. And it's just a nice little simple way to...
Yeah. I like that.
So if I was going to write that up, like I might go, all right, I'll throw a goblet squat in. My lunge, I'll just do some lunges. My hinges, I'll do a sumo deadlift. My push, I'll do a deep push up or a dip. My pull, I'll do a TRX row. My rotate, I might do like a fucking kettlebell wood chop or something. But carry is the interesting one that's in there. Yeah. And it's like, could be a overhead carry, could be a fucking sandbag, could be a farmer's carry, could be a carry in front, like with a big slam ball or something. And then the last one would be correct. So like, what's a sticky point? What's like, say, a glute med, like a hip stabilizer or a rotator cuff? Can it be like a face pull or something? Yeah. And just like always at the end of a workout, just finding what's an area that I know is a problem and throw a rehab move in to finish. And it's just like a really cool little sort of...
It's a good breakdown, isn't it?
Yeah, it just takes a little bit of the cognitive load out. Like instead of going, what am I going to do tonight? I'll just write that up, and then I'll just go bang, 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 and it might be like 3x8 squats. I might so for like squat, lunge, hinge, I might go. I'm going to do a superset. So I'm going to do the 3 exercises into each other within 2 minutes rest, and then do the next superset. So like you can create endless variation of that. But just having that idea as a little bit of a template to start with, I find very helpful. And as I said, I don't even know if it's an original idea by him, but the addition to the 3 at the bottom are the ones that you'll see most people leave out. Like your typical PTs will do your squats, your lunge, your hinges, your push, your pull, but the rotate, the carry, and the correct are the 3 that, won't typically be in there.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Cool. It's handy.
What's his name again?
Athlean X. Jeff Cavalier is his name.
Okay, cool. No,
He's I'll bring him up because he's very good. You'll probably, like, if I bring up a video that he's in, you'll probably go, oh, I've seen this fucking dude. Are you making this mistake? Let's see if I can bring him up. Actually, I'll go YouTube. I don't want to end up on his fucking mailing list. But yeah, smart guy. Yeah, he's got 14 million. Jesus.
Oh, wow.
Is that coming through for you as well, or just me?
No, I'm not seeing anything.
Yeah, so it's this guy.
Okay.
Yeah, he's just a really, really good sort of fitness educator.
Yeah. Alright, cool. I'll check out his content.
Yeah. Yeah, that came through my headphones so loud. So what would you say, you said there were a couple of events on the schedule, the Oceania one, the backyard, the Dead Cow Gully. Was there like an A event for 2024? Did you say that? Did I miss it?
If it is, it's a 6-day event down in South Australia.
Yeah, the
The
last
other
one.
3 are early on in the year, and
Okay.
then I think for the second half of the year, I'll just concentrate on that.
Yeah, nice. Nice. What do you eat? How do you fuel your runs?
It's kind of like a lot of the usual stuff, like banana, peanut butter sandwiches. I've got little recipes, like I do little rice cake and little homemade muesli bars as well.
Yeah.
I try to, where I can, I try to stay away from tailwind and kind of gels as much as possible and try to stick to whole foods.
It's a good idea.
But yeah, and generally I sort of try and stick to those types of foods.
Yeah. Is that all the time? Like why do you try to stay away from the tailwind and gels and stuff?
I found the tailwind was giving me a little bit of reflux after a fair
Yeah.
bit of it. Like if I do use it, I try and use it at the start of the race, because towards the back end of an ultra, the sweet stuff I find can kind of cause a little bit of reflux, and then I can run into issues from there.
Yeah.
And the gels kind of the same issue as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, if I'm gonna, if I can stick to whole foods, and sometimes you can't always eat like solid foods, and then that all goes out the window anyway. But if I can stick to that as long as possible, I find the performance does go better.
I find similar things. Like I can run, say, a Spartan B soft gels. I can run probably like, I'm going to say like 8 hours off just gels or like gel type
That's
products.
crazy.
I'm not a huge fan of not a huge fan of like stuff you put in water. I'm not a fan of tailwind or anything like that. I find it gets a bit much. I find the science in sport gels work pretty well for me, but if I'm going to go longer than that, like we used to do a 12-hour enduro down in Doyleson at Raw Challenge, and that was a fucking sick event. But I'd get like 8 or 9 hours, and I'd just have to have some solid food. I just couldn't go much longer, and if I stay on gels much longer, I have all sorts of problems.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely get that. That's another thing that's just like endless variation. I think I've spoken to, I don't know, I've probably interviewed 60 athletes, 70 athletes, and you never get the same answer for like, what do you eat? How do you fuel yourself?
Yeah.
And ultras are just a running competition. An eating competition, really. It's like who can just keep the food down to keep their body going.
That's right. That's 100% right. You know, it's so important, right? And as soon as that goes out the window, as soon as you can't keep food down, generally that can be the end of your race as well. So
yeah, it's
you're not running about the eating comp.
It's probably the biggest thing, and like we've I wouldn't say it well. It's not the biggest thing, but it can become a very big thing if you're not prepared for it. So like if I'm coaching people into their first ultra or their first 24-hour enduro, they'll be like, oh, I need to make sure I'm doing the volume. I need to make sure I'm doing this. I'm like, yeah, 100% you need to do that. But you need to get your nutrition strategy right, and you need to make sure your gear is not going to fuck you up. Like you're not going to get blisters off the shoes, or you're not going to have a pack that's going to put blisters on your lower back. Because like you're going to get, like what takes a lot of people out of these events is not necessarily, oh, my legs won't work anymore. It's just death by 1,000 cuts. It's like, I'm hungry, I can't eat, I've got fucking cramps, I've got fucking chafe, both my feet are bleeding, I'm losing toenails. You know, you just get to the point where you're just so ground down that you just pull it. So yeah, finding something that you can eat. I was trying to find this for you. I don't know if you've heard of it. Spring Energy. Have you seen this around?
I've seen it around. Yeah, they've got gels and stuff, don't they? Yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't used their products, but I have seen
So
it. Yeah.
they do. I'm not huge on gels. Like, I'm not a massive fan. I don't mind the science in sport. I find that works because they're like an isotonic, so they're not like sticky jelly. It's
Yeah.
like it's almost water.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I
But
like that stuff. Yeah.
this stuff is they make gels, but it's all like whole food. So they make it out of like rice and fucking apples and sweet potato and
Wow.
cinnamon, and they like
Okay.
it's almost like baby food. It's like a puree,
Yeah, right. That's pretty
and
cool.
they're fucking awesome. Like, they're really really good. And I
Yeah,
find
okay.
that
I know
they
a lot of athletes that do use this stuff, so
yeah, and I
might
find they
have to look
just they sit a lot nicer in the gut on the longer stuff. I think my last couple of really long races I've used these, and yeah, I find they sit really well. So you might find a little bit of joy there, because as much as, and I mean, look, if the natural stuff works really well for you, fucking A, roll with that.
Yeah. No, I'll have to give this a go. It's like you in like 10 or 20k events when you're pushing hard. Generally, I can stomach like a gel or some tailwind or something like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, I'd like to give these a go, I reckon. These-
I find it's a different thing. Like, when you say you're running a 10k or a 21 where you're really redlining, like, you're pretty much in fight or flight the whole time. So your body can't really, your rest and digest is all shut down. There's not much blood in your stomach anyway. So you need like as simple carbohydrates as you can get that your body can just extract the glycogen out. Whereas once you're running a little bit slower and there's a bit of blood in your stomach, you can actually digest some stuff. Your body wants that real nice food. But yeah, you might find a bit of joy out of that, because what I'll generally say to clients over the years is find what works for you and then refine that, but every now and again try something new, because just because you found what works for you, it doesn't mean you can't find something that works slightly better, or you just have a bit of a palate change, or you're just always trying to optimize like every bit of your training. How can I get my recovery better? How can I get my sleep better? How can I get my nutrition dialed in even more than it is?
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah,
never-ending
I was gonna say
quest.
physical training as well. It's important to kind of mix it
100%.
up to try and break into new heights, right? So
Yeah. Yeah, you can usually tell if I've read a new book or done a new coaching course or something, because all
Yeah,
my programs have this new fucking spin, this new thing that I've learned.
no, it's good that you're pushing your learnings further, so you can
Yeah, you
pass
got
on
to,
to your
man.
clients.
You got to. You always got to change, evolve.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a good thing. Maddie, awesome sauce is the shit. Dessert while running is the creme de la creme of training. Awesome sauce. Is that was that on the Spring Energy page? Did you see awesome sauce? Ah, that's that flavour of those, right?
It was.
You
Okay.
can see how much attention I pay to the packaging. Dom just gives me stuff and I put it in my mouth. She's saying humour is the same but slightly cheaper to Spring. Cool.
Okay. Good to know.
Cool. Yeah, I was actually talking to Dom about this a while back, about like trying to make our own like gel sort of formula that we could just
Yeah.
mulch up some stuff and chuck it in sealable bags.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. One more gel.
Um,
Yeah.
well, yeah, whatever it is, because the amount that we spend on fucking gels and stuff is unbelievable. Like, we buy
Yeah. Yeah.
boxes and boxes of stuff. It's like 2 massive invoices twice a year. It fucking adds up. Adds up. These sports are
Not wrong.
expensive. So, is there anything?
Get on top of that.
So, food we've covered off. What do you eat like day to day? Is there anything? Do you prescribe to any?
Look, I'm not as disciplined with it as I should be, but I do try to stick to like a program the dietitian wrote out for me, and that's kind of just getting enough carbohydrates in to be able to support the training,
Cool.
and protein, and then obviously nutrients from vegetables and stuff like that as well. But
Yeah.
typically that looks like your overnight oats or eggs on toast for brekkie.
Yeah, cool.
Get a morning tea in there with a bagel, lunch, I generally go like a chicken, rice, and veggie, or like a tuna pasta dish.
Yeah, nice.
And then dinner kind of following the same principle as lunch, just trying to get as much carbs and protein in as possible.
Yeah, beautiful.
But yeah, I've got a plan that I try to stick to.
That's nice. So you
Yeah.
eat pretty clean. Because I know,
Yeah,
I would
try.
say there's a culture of bad nutrition in ultra running. Like you see donuts
Yeah,
and pizza and Coke
it's
and
what
aid
they do
stations.
say
Like,
they're known for it, aren't they? Yeah,
yeah,
the pizzas and the Cokes and the lollies and the chocolate. Sometimes when you're working out so hard, and I saw this, I don't know if you know the sports dietitian page on Instagram.
yeah, I believe I do.
Um,
I think I follow it.
yeah, her content's quite good, and
Yeah,
she was basically saying when someone trains so much, the healthier option is almost to sometimes eat those lollies and those chocolates. Is going to give you quick energy,
yeah,
rather than try and get that from other sources where you're going to
yeah,
have to eat a whole lot more, and then it could cause like digestion issues and things like that.
yeah.
Um,
Well, that's the
so
sort of
I put
idea behind the
myself
gels,
limits.
right? It's just getting that,
Yeah, yeah,
that super simple carbohydrate with almost no nutritional shit that your body has to break
yeah,
apart. It can just go, give me all that
yeah.
fucking sugar, give me the glycogen. Whereas the complex, the brown rice that your body's got to extract all the shit out of, maybe that's not great at, while you're
Yeah.
running. So it's that same sort of idea. It's just, whether you're putting red frogs in your mouth or squirting gel, it's probably like for like pretty
That's
comparable.
right.
Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, there's definitely a bit of a culture around it. Like you see pizza at aid stations and Coke, and
yeah, yeah, yeah,
there's those like two schools of thought. And I think it was an older thing in ultra running that like if you're exercising enough, it doesn't matter what you eat. And it's like, yeah, that's true. But are you out here to be lean, or are you out here for physical performance? Like if the idea is just to not be fat, there's a million different ways you can go about that.
correct, yeah.
But if you want to get the absolute most out of how far and fast you can run, like, if I put shitty fuel in my motorbike, it's not gonna go as fast. It's not nearly
No,
as fun.
you're absolutely right. And I try to stick to a plan as much as possible. But like I said, sometimes that just goes out the window. You just end up eating
It's hard,
snakes
man.
anyways. But
It's hard. It's hard to be
yeah,
good. It's hard to be perfect. It's impossible to be perfect. Maddie's saying, OMG, one more gel. It's its own marketing. OMG.
it's good.
Um, is there anything I spoke to Dylan Party a little while ago, who just today won his beast over in Fiji. I think he's pinned Liam to win. I believe Nicole Miracle took it out for the chicks, and Joanna Hills was just behind her, pretty close.
That was
But
close, was it? I always
I believe
wondered
so.
because the first time I raced an elite race, Joanna beat all the men. It was that one at the Gold Coast, and so I was
Royal
always
Challenge?
wondering, oh,
Or
man,
Spartan?
she must be a world champion. Like, she'd be
She's
up
an
there with
animal.
the Lindsay Websters and the Nicole Miracles. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's good to finally see them head to head.
I don't think she'd ever actually have the chance to race against any of them. I think this was like the first
Yeah,
chance she's had to go against some of the world's best. Because like we've known locally, like she'll turn up to a like Raw Challenge Gold Coast, and like Liam and Quinton will maybe be tit for tat first and second, and Joanna's just behind them, and
yeah,
then
yeah,
the next guy won't come in for a while. Like
yeah.
she beats
She
most of
won't
the guys
race
out
it.
on course. She's an absolute savage, and still coming off the back of a broken foot. Like she's just
Wow.
a prodigy. Her family are incredible. So I was speaking
She's
to
got a
her
younger sister, doesn't she?
too. I was speaking to
Okay.
her old man, who fucking his name's escaping me. I'm hoping it comes to me while I'm talking. But yeah, he's just sort of coached all of the girls. Like he's just leveled himself up,
Wow.
and he's
Yeah.
getting himself qualified as a PT, and I think he's getting Joanna to do the PT course, and like so they've just self-made it. Like, but he's coached her. I think Joanna was like 21. She won Raw. Danielle, I think, was 16, and she came second. And
Yeah, wow.
their younger sister, I think, was 14 and came third. So this
Wow.
is an elite obstacle race, and all
Yeah.
three of them first, second, third, and like Joanna and maybe Danielle beat most of the field of men. Like,
It'll be amazing to see
savages.
what the sisters are like as they come through. I mean,
Yeah,
there could be some world
yeah,
championship, right?
yeah. I think Danielle, who would be maybe 17 now, I think she's set some like records in. I think she's like a middle distance runner, like
Oh, okay.
like a 1500 meter or something. I think she's pretty handy, or like a 800, I think, from memory.
Yeah.
But yeah, just bright future. If you can keep
Yeah,
yourself
absolutely.
uninjured, that's the trick. That's that just walking on that knife edge, right? You as an athlete, you got to go, how can I push as hard as possible, and then how do I preserve my body while I do that? Like, that's the dance
Yeah.
you're doing.
Especially with kids too, you've got to monitor their volume. But
Yep.
yeah, no, good on them.
Yeah, it's impressive. So, yeah, so it's cool to see her throw down with Nicole. I'll try and get some details for everyone out of that. Hopefully, I can get someone to write me up a summary. We'll get some info. But yeah, man. Is there anything else that you do that's a little bit weird? Like any particular shoe choice or anything that you would say that we haven't covered that might be interesting?
Yeah. Oh, look, probably the only thing is that I'm not as invested in knowing everything. Like, I've probably never
Sure.
ran in like the best shoes, or like I kind of keep away from the details a little bit. Like, I don't always
Yeah.
do like heaps of research or whatever. I think I ran that 48-hour track race in Saucony Speed Endorphins, and
Yeah.
they weren't really a shoe designed for 48-hour track races, but they got me through all right. So
Yeah.
I think, if anything, that's probably been an advantage for me, not thinking about these things too much, just going
Yeah.
out and doing it. But yeah, I
It's
can't think of anything too strange.
it's a factor, man. In the same
Yeah.
way that I was talking about that little Athlon X template, like it's an outsourcing of cognitive load. So
Yeah.
like if you're in all the details and you're going, oh, I need to get my shoes right, I need to get my nutrition right, I need to fucking sleep, this is what time I have to get up, I need to get sunlight in the morning. Like if you just sort of go with the flow a little bit and you just put all of that effort into running fucking faster and sort of just not sweating a lot of the details, like you'll probably find that will work. But then that just comes down to personality type as well. Like there's some people who, are a little bit more on the neurotic side, and they need all that. They need to have all those T's crossed and I's dotted. Otherwise, they get too much anxiety. So it's like just finding what works. When I spoke to, you mentioned Lockie Danzy. When I spoke to Lockie, I'm like, what do you eat, man? What do you wear? And he's like, he goes, I've tried all the shoes, whatever. He goes, I just buy whatever gels are on special at Coles when I get to the town that I'm racing in. He goes, I don't really give a fuck. And I was just, and he's an animal.
There's something in that laid back attitude, isn't there?
Yeah, he just doesn't sweat the small stuff, doesn't sweat the details. He'll work it out, and it just really works for him. Whereas I know guys who are, also right at the pointy end of competition, and they're going over all their data. They're making sure their Whoop band's telling them when they're fucking primed for their big training sessions. Like it's it's whatever works for you. Do you use much tech?
Nah, not really. I definitely don't like to even keep my Garmin on overnight, because I don't want to see what a shocking sleep I've had the night before. It'll just make me feel worse,
Yeah.
So, I keep track of like things like pace and heart rate, and like I just the general tech that every other runner would kind of use, But
Yeah.
I don't look into numbers too much.
Yeah, I drift. I find if I get too metric focused, training becomes a chore.
That's it. Yeah.
So if what I'll do a couple times a week is get up, either run down to the beach, do maybe a bit of bodyweight stuff, jump in the water, run back, or I'll ride down, run. So there's endless variations of what I'll do. But most of the time, if I'm just doing those morning workouts, I won't have my watch on. Or I won't be tracking the workout, just because I find I don't enjoy it. And if I don't track it, I'm like, it's one of my favourite parts of the day. And if I track it, I get back and I'm like, oh fuck, I wasn't as fast. I thought I'd be quicker today. I had a really good sleep. I should have run faster. Like, instead I just run down to the beach, jump in the ocean and go, how fucking nice is it living here? And then I just jog back or walk back. Like,
couldn't agree more. Hey, yeah. Some days when I think, I'm just leaving the watch at home. I'm just gonna take the lid off it, go for a run out in the sun. I'm just gonna love life, you know. Like, it's definitely sometimes being away from the numbers is the way to go, I reckon.
Yeah, and I think that's the secret with all tech. Like social media, fucking, if you just live on it, it sucks all the happiness out of your life. And if it's just a thing that you have a look at every now and again, if you just look at the numbers every now and again, like I'll wake up and go, I feel pretty good, and then I'll check my watch and I'm like, yeah, my watch tells me I'm good too. Good work, watch. And like for instance, today I woke up and I think I've caught a bit of some sort of flu or something because I've just been off for like the last 4 days. I'm just not bouncing out of bed. But I had quite a long sleep last night, so I think I slept like 9 hours. So I wake up, I've got parkrun this morning, and I'm like not feeling it at all. Head's a bit fuzzy. So I get to parkrun and I run, and it wasn't a crazy good run. But then I checked my watch and it was like, your sleep score was 94. You feel amazing. You're at the prime for training today. And I'm like, had I looked at that before I went for the run, I might have like got in my head a little bit, like going, oh, today needs to be a good run. Whereas if I just, like, I use it as like a confirmation of how I'm feeling, not an indicator of how I should be feeling, if that makes sense.
Cool. Yeah. No, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah. Maddie's saying, watch Nicole at OCR World Champs. She's something different. Super happy and laughing while out on course. Demolished a lot of the top blokes as well and has incredible technique throughout the obstacles. Her and Ida were head to head until the end and just super nice and fun to talk with as well. For Joanna to come close behind really shows the level Joanna is at as well. Yeah, Joanna's world class. There's something to that as well. Like you see the athletes who just genuinely enjoy it. Like they love being out on course. And there's something super magnetic about that. And I think sustainable about it too. For the same reasons that we were saying, like I don't track my runs when I run down to the beach because I just fucking enjoy doing it. Like if you can get out on course and just have fun. Yeah.
Well, you can see those champions like Lindsay Webster in OCR and like Courtney DeWalter in ultra running. They've always got a smile on their face, don't they?
She's doing some crazy shit, Courtney DeWalter.
Oh yeah.
Did she just win the? Was it 3 big ones? She just won the Western States.
First ever, I think. UTMB.
UTMB.
What was it? Hard Rock
Western
was
States.
it? And Western States. Yeah.
Hard Rock, or was it the one in Death Valley? Badwater? No, Hard.
I think it was Hard Rock. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, but like first, was it the first to win those 3?
Yeah, I think it's the first person to win the 3 big races. Yeah.
Courtney DeWalter. Yeah. In 2023, DeWalter became the first athlete ever to win Western States 100, Hard Rock 100, and the UTMB 3 iconic 100-mile races in the same year, which is fucking insane. Was the Western States, is that the one that started as a horse race?
I don't know. Actually.
There's one ultra horse race. There's a race that was like ultra running. There's a race that was it started off as like a horse race and then people started running it, and like for the first time in like 1970 or something was the first time a human won the race over a horse. Like it was, I can't remember the story, and it's going to take me too long to Google it. But yeah, it was just this.
Do some digging later.
Yeah, I can't remember the full story. I read that in some ultra book. Do you read it all, man?
Yeah, a little bit. Like I don't really read about running or anything like that, but I like kind of stuff by Gladwell. Do you know Malcolm Gladwell?
Mm-hmm. Tipping Point.
Yeah, I love some of his stuff.
Outliers.
Yeah, outliers.
I
Yeah,
think.
where the whole 10,000 hour rule came from.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy.
Yeah, he has a kind of a good perspective on things.
Mm.
But typically, I like non-fiction. A lot of those kind of self-helpy kind of
Sure.
psychology books I'm right into.
Yeah.
But, but yeah, I do a little bit of reading.
There's that scarcity brain, if you're into sort of self-helpy psychology stuff,
Yeah, yeah,
was
no,
a
sounded
really
cool.
nice book. I really enjoyed that one. I've been the same. Self-help is. I decided like years ago I was going to try and read a self-help book every week, and for
Yeah,
years I've kept pretty good. I'm probably about one a month now, but for a while it was like one a week, and then it was one a fortnight. Chasing the Scream I just finished, which is one all
yeah.
about the drug war and addiction, and that was a really interesting one
Oh,
as well, which sort of came off the back of Scarcity Brain. Um,
yeah.
but there was another one that I thought I'd bring up if you're into psychology. I'm just scrolling down my list in iBooks. The Madness of Crowds is amazing by Douglas Murray.
Some
Um,
crowds.
yeah, A Hunter-Gatherer's Guide to the 21st Century is fantastic.
So I've heard of that. It's a good book, is it?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Um, yeah, there's a heap of them. There's a heap of them. What's your favourite book?
What's favorite book? Um, I really liked that Mark Manson book.
Oh yeah, Not Giving a
I
Fuck.
haven't butchered his name, have I?
Simple Art
Yeah,
of Not Giving a
that's one.
Fuck.
I thought that was really funny and kind of a new take on self-help books.
Yeah.
Um, I don't. I'm trying to think what would be my absolute favorite though. Yeah, maybe Outliers. It would have to
Mm.
be. It'd have to be something in that genre, I would say. How about yourself?
There'd be a couple. I mean, there's some books that I've read that are. I'd class them as different. I'd class them in a few categories. So there's like self-help books that are amazing. Then there's
Yeah,
self-help books that are like told as a narrative that are amazing, and then there's narrative books that are just like watching Netflix, like it's just entertainment. So like I would say like a Harry Potter or you know fantasy. I've read some really good fantasy over the years that I've really enjoyed from like just an entertainment standpoint. But from a
yeah,
personal development standpoint, there's a couple that have been personally very impactful. And then there's been a couple that have been really helpful as a coach. And I sort of
yeah. Okay.
split those into different things. So I might read a book like I tend to do things to very extreme levels. So books about addiction and stuff like that are quite personally beneficial to me.
Yeah,
But it might not be something that I'd get a client to read. Books like Matthew Walker, Why We Sleep, that was fucking
yeah.
fantastic, and that's something that I'm going to recommend to you because you've told me you don't sleep great more than once. But that was like a level up as a coach book. That's like
Yeah,
like every PT should read this.
yeah. Okay.
You know, if you're in the business of helping people live healthier, this is
Yeah.
essential information.
And does that go through sort of like the benefits of sleep and things like that? Or... Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm going to send it to you because it's amazing.
Have you ever read Chasing Excellence? That was a great read by that CrossFitter coach that coached Matt Fraser for a little bit. Ben,
I
I forget his
don't
surname.
think I have.
Uh,
Was he also a CrossFitter? Because there was a CrossFitter before Fraser that was Ben something.
Um,
I
no,
don't
he
think I've
wasn't.
read Chasing
I think he's
Excellence.
only been a coach, but yeah, that was a kind of a really good book and sort of like emphasized the importance of loving the process of the
Yeah,
actual event or the result itself,
yeah,
which I really love. But
yeah, yeah. I like that idea. Like the training. The training is the good bit.
yeah,
The event's just the dance recital. It's the
that's
training all
right.
through the
That's
year
right.
and the growing and the
Yeah,
learning. That's the shit that's sparking the dopamine. You know, it's the time when the coin's in the air is the most important
yeah,
part of a bet. or the most exciting part of a bet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another book that's fantastic from like a coach is Breath, The New Science of a Lost Art. That was fucking fantastic. I've read a heap, like Can't Hurt Me. There was one, a chick wrote by the name of Angela Duckworth wrote a book called Grit, which was really good, which would probably be beneficial for you as an ultra runner.
Yeah.
But what am I looking for? My favourite book, I would say, that sort of crosses all of these things is a book by a guy called Matt Fitzgerald, who's written a heap of good books, but it's called How Bad Do You Want It? Mastering the Psychology of Mind Over Muscle. And that would be something that I would highly, highly fucking recommend to you.
Sounds like you're very well read, and this one's the one at the top of the pile. Yeah.
It's fun. It's like my gateway drug to getting clients to read.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So he's a sports journalist, and like also ultra, extreme endurance athlete, triathlon, stuff like that, runner. He's a coach. Anyway, so he writes this book about like sports psychology, and it's all about like different things that make a difference, like training in a group. What does that do? Like training with music. What is so he talks about something called the audience effect, which is this idea that when eyes are on you, you're going to perform better than when nobody's watching. So like you can see this when you come into like a Spartan race, or you come into the final bit of the pits where the lap like ends, and your chest puffs up, you just all of a sudden you run amazing, right? And
yes.
A kilometer before you were shuffling and fucked, like that adrenaline sort of sparks, and so he's a sports journalist, so he's been following sporting events and speaking about them in a very entertaining way. So he narrates the audiobook, which is definitely the way you want to read it. I just bought the copy so I can like go through and highlight stuff. But so he narrates it, and he tells these like, he'll be trying to tell you a certain lesson or a certain idea. Like this one about the audience effects, he talks about this guy who like got into the Tour de France, and he was like not a top tier racer, not a top tier athlete, and like somehow manages to win a stage, and then he's got the golden jacket on, and like he becomes front page news on all the newspapers, and he's going through the streets, and there's fucking people waving signs, and like this fucking dude holds on to this golden jacket for like all these stages, like, and the people were taking bets on how long he'd be able to hold on, and he just outperformed everyone. Like it was like once the eyes of the world were on him, he was able to perform way above and beyond what anyone thought he would have been capable of. And it's like just showcasing this idea of the audience effect. So he talks about like, I think it might be the Chicago Marathon, maybe it's the Boston Marathon. Anyway, it's a marathon where obviously they're running 42Ks through the city, and there's this part in the race where they go through a tunnel, and then the tunnel is right next to the co-ed school or university. So there's all the uni people who live on campus come out to watch the marathon. They're all on the sidelines. So as you're coming into this tunnel, all these young girls are screaming, and statistically that is the kilometer where most men will run their best split.
There you go.
And it's just this idea of this audience effect, but he'll give you a lesson, he'll tell you a lesson, but he'll tell it as like a short biography of a certain athlete who overcame a specific issue they were struggling with, or a certain thing, like things like learning to love the process and enjoying what you're doing and enjoying the training instead of like just being purely focused on data. But it's just such an interesting book. Like it sort of ticks that narrative while you're learning. Like it doesn't feel like, sometimes self-help can be a bit of a chore. Like you're trying to get the info and you know it's valuable, but it's like, I got to be in the right headspace to fucking listen to this. Whereas that book, I think I've listened to like 6 or 7 times.
And a lot of them are kind of selling the same points, right? And so it's kind of like an art for a writer to find a point from a new perspective that really sticks with the reader. which it sounds like that. Like, I haven't actually heard of the audience effect before, but I know personally that works for me. Like, you bet I'd be running my
Yeah.
fastest split with eyeballs on me, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, and the
I-
yeah, like training in groups, like you talk, and everything's backed by studies, and he'll give you the data, and it's just a
Yeah.
really really well put together book. But as I said, like if I get a client who is maybe doesn't read at all, part of coaching, it's like how can I curate. It's not just teaching you how to exercise and teaching you what to eat. Like if I can teach you to level up your mind and the way you think about things and the way you think about your suffering when you're out on course suffering, because if you're going hard enough, you are fucking suffering at times.
Yeah.
That's going to level you up as well. Like, so
Oh,
it's
totally.
so if I've got a client, I'm trying to get them to read and they're just really against it. I'm like, look, just start with this book, and often they'll read it
Yeah.
and go, that was really fucking good. Like I really enjoyed that. Like, so it's a bit of a gateway drug.
No,
But
that's
yeah.
amazing. And
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more with the thing about training in groups as well, right? I've only learned that recently with this run club that I started with
Yeah.
a friend of mine, Emily, that, I was always a lone wolf taking on like these running events. And then when I started this club, I'm watching these guys push themselves together and encourage each other. And they're
Yeah.
all, accomplishing great things. All of a sudden, I realized myself, like the power of community,
It's
so it's
huge.
definitely something in that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge. So he talks about it in the book, tells a little, and he talks about it a lot more, but talks about this study that was done. It was out of one of the big unis in the States, one of the big colleges. So it was Harvard or Yale or whichever one it was,
Yeah.
Oxford, whatever. Anyway, so they did this study with the collegiate rowing team, where they get them all to come in and they do like a rowing time trial, and then they get them all to come in and do the same time trial, but they're rowing like the rowers are all next to each other and as teams, and
Yeah.
hands down they'll always do it better in a team. Like
Wow.
just the,
Have you
the
ever
idea
heard?
of suffering together.
It absolutely reminds me of this stat that they did research on two basketball teams, right? And they're trying to measure up. They basically spread out the same skill set, and they're trying to work out why is this basketball team performing better than the other one.
Yeah.
And what they worked out was this basketball team was giving out like heaps of high fives and pats on the back, and
Yeah.
and they worked out that physical touch was playing such a big role in end performance. And
Yeah.
they said the player in the NBA that would do the most physical touch, like hand out the most hand high fives, get the most back pats, that was actually Kobe O'Brien.
Yeah.
And so like he's one of the NBA's best players. And
Ultimate team
so
player.
it's interesting how much of a role that kind of community and
It's
like
huge.
physical touch plays in performance. And you'd know that yourself. Obviously, you've created a community yourself. So
Yeah, it's huge. Like, and biologically, it's just baked into us. We're creatures of cooperation, and when we are cooperating towards a common goal, there's happiness in that. Like, there's something that's
yeah,
just genetically we're made to do that. Yeah, so time and time again, you'll find that replicated in studies of various construct where they come to that finding that we just work better when we cooperate.
it's interesting.
If you can become part of something that's working towards a purpose, that's the way you can find your own purpose. But yeah, there's something that I do, like, so events like Hurricane Heats and Taipan that I ran in 2023. This idea of getting out and doing difficult things as a team. It's when you suffer together and you have to survive trials together, it adds cohesion. So like I've raced all over the world, and I've done all sorts of events, but where I've gone and I've done hurricane heats, like I'm still in contact with people that I did 12-hour hurricane heats with in Hawaii in 2019,
Yeah,
but I'm in touch with nobody that I did the race with. And the same in the
the bonds are
Philippines.
formed through the trenches.
Yeah, man. Yep. And it's that's sort of part of why military training's done the way it is,
Yeah,
because it like bonds you to this cause and to your core and to your troop. Yeah, it sort of creates that cohesion and that ability to work together. It's it's fascinating stuff. Maddie's saying, thanks for the chat, fellas. Well done again, Blaine, for the achievements you're making and the inspiration you're providing for all of those around you. All the stories and posts you share are awesome. That last 100 meters of the ultra, that cut ultra, is a testament to what you're willing to do and stay humble as well. It's amazing to see. Our first race was out at Oberon, and I've only got you once at APAC last year. Which was a huge confidence booster considering what you're capable of. There's no limit in you, and can't wait to see what else you're going to achieve. Looking forward to joining your run club once I'm back down under. You're a top bloke, man. Keep being you. Thank you, Maddie.
Awesome, Matty Day. Yeah.
All the way from Chesney,
great racer,
Turkey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great human, man.
He is great.
Yeah, I don't know if you're still there, Maddie, but all the best, sir. Mate, it's been amazing chatting, dude. I've really enjoyed it. You're an interesting guy.
Thank you for having me on, and
my pleasure.
thank you for everything you do.
My pleasure.
You push the sport forward, and we obviously need someone like you out there. So no, thank you.
No, mate, I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. OCR's been an amazing thing for me, so I'll keep growing it. But mate, look, all the best with your search for hurt qualies too. I think you're sitting in a good position for it. I think you'd be especially good on the show because it is probably going to be a little bit more leaning towards running, and you've got that, but you've also got a good strength background for a good runner. So I think you'd be in a really cool position for it, which is cool.
Well, you'll have to. We'll see how we go in the powerlifting, but I look forward to running. Yeah, no, I might try and revisit the burpees, see if I can get them closer to 4 minutes flat. But other than that,
you've still got you've still got 20 days.
Weeks.
Yeah, you can just put it in your calendar once a week and bang it out. See how you go.
That's it.
Have you done your park run yet? Did you do a park run this morning?
Nah, I didn't do a park run this morning. I think at the moment I will log a 16:52, and I might have one more crack at that, by the end of September, maybe last weekend of September or something. But
yeah,
I don't know if I'm getting much sharper than that.
It's handy enough. I think that'll do. But yeah, mate, awesome chat. We'll wrap it up, and you hang around for a second, man. I'm gonna finish the live up, guys. I had an amazing chat with Scotty Shepherd the other night. Definitely worth going in and checking that out. And I'll be chatting to a young fella, Brody, next week. He is an obstacle racer. He's done pretty well at Enduros as well. He's in his early 20s, opened a gym down in Wollongong called Imperium Group Fitness, and just a lovely kid as well. So I'm interested to talk to him and see what he's doing in the space. But thanks for tuning in. Everyone enjoy your Saturday. Catch you later.